Today I'm at the Calgary Zoo. And we're gonna do the Canadian wilds. Right now, we're at the bighorn sheep. The males have the bigger, curvier horns. The bigger and curvier the male's horns are, the more the females will be attracted to them. Now let's move on to the next animal. Now we're at the mountain goats. Did you know that they can climb almost vertical surfaces? So like if this was the mountain, and since it's almost vertical, and you could climb it, then a mountain goat could climb up. Now, and if you look, you can see that some of them are a bit smaller, and those are the babies. Of course, they're not really babies anymore. They're a lot older. Now, let's move on to the next animal. Now, we're at the owl section. Right now, we're in a nest of great gray owls. They also, if you look, they have lots of dead mice and even a little bird up there. There are also other owls here at the Calgary Zoo.
One question, do you think that's great?
Look, there's one up in the tree. That's either a great gray owl or a bear owl.
Do you think that's great?
Hard to see from here.
Are you sleeping? No, where's the owl?
So let's keep looking for more owls. This is a snowy owl. They are some of the only owls with feathers on their feet. It's to help keep their feet warm because when you look at a bird, you don't really think of them having furry feet. But when you live in the Arctic, you need furry feet, otherwise your feet are gonna freeze. Now, let's move on. Now, we're at the bison. Did you know that there's two types of bison? The plain bison and the wood bison. The plain bison are a little bigger, and more people know about them. Did you know that bison have a special covering thing so that they don't damage their brain when they headbutt? Because that is a good way to show the females who's stronger. Let's move on to the next animal. We're going to talk about something that's not really an animal, but it's super cool. It's lichen. When you think of lichen, you think of maybe reindeer food and something not very interesting. That's a plant that grows on trees and rocks. But lichen is basically indestructible. You could bring it to space and it would be perfectly fine. It's a mix of fungi and algae. Algae, he can't really survive that well on land. It mostly forms in water. And fungi can't do photosynthesis, which is where plants get light and energy from the sun. So they join together to create a symbiotic relationship, which is where two animals get something out of a friendship almost. Except it's not really a friendship. It's like your partner in a schoolwork thing. You have to work together to make this product amazing. Now, let's move on to the next animal.
Now, we're at muskox.
Muskox babies will hide under the mother's fur to stay warm. They also scrape lichen out of the ground with their feet because lichen is under the snow. Kind of like a caribou and reindeer. And they can run pretty fast, but not for very long. It's hard to run with a giant coat. When I'm wearing a snowsuit, I can't run very fast without getting hot. So that's what happens to them. So they can usually kind of outrun a predator, so they run super fast as far as they can, and the predator's like, oh, they're too fast. I give up, I'm gonna leave now. And then they're safe. So that's the only way running works. Otherwise, they just headbutt. Otherwise, they just headbutt the predators and protect the babies. Now, let's move on to the next animal. Here we have a prairie dog. Just so you know, if your cat or dog catches a prairie dog, immediately he'd be like, "Pet, are you okay?" And do not touch the prairie dog that much because they carry diseases. They're also very, very cute, and they have burrows that black-footed ferrets, which I mentioned in an earlier video, go hunt. So they communicate using yips. And if there's danger, they go like yip. Some people say it's very contagious, and they have started yipping after hearing them, but it might just be a little joke. Let's move on. Okay, so whooping cranes used to be very endangered and almost extinct. But conservationists and biologists and zoologists made a daring plan. So they took whooping crane eggs from the nest into a sandhill crane's nest because whooping cranes are not really the best parents. They lay 2 eggs. Usually only one of those babies survives. So they took 1 egg, and the other one the parents would actually raise. And the other egg was put in a sandhill crane nest. And sandhill cranes are pretty good parents, like not as bad as whooping cranes. And then, because sandhill cranes are pretty similar to whooping cranes, like the ones over there, they started doing whooping crane stuff, not sandhill crane stuff. And then they basically just joined the rest of the remaining whooping cranes. And then they did this a lot, and whooping cranes were saved. Let's move on. You might think I might not do Canada geese. You might think everyone knows about Canada geese. They fly south for winter, they fly in a V shape, blah, blah, blah. But did you know that they hiss at people that they think will want to threaten their children? And they can even bite. Wow. And also, when they fly in a V shape south for the winter, then the front one leads everyone. So eventually that front one is gonna get tired. So one at the second front will switch places. And then they'll keep switching and switching and switching. And all the geese will usually get a turn and prevents them from getting too tired. Now let's move on. Right now we're at the wolves. Wolves are in close family groups that start when there's two wolves, the alpha male and the alpha female. Then their pups become like the second most important. Then they can have pups, and alpha ones can have more pups, and a wolf can have a pretty big pack. They howl and bark to communicate. If a wolf is submissive, then it'll be like, "I submit, do not attack me." Or it'll roll over and show its belly, which is its weakest spot. You can also do they'll also do play battles. Be like, "Hey, I'm friendly. You don't have to attack." Now let's move on to the next animal. So right now we're at the caribou, or commonly known as reindeer, because they are basically the same thing. Did you know that both female and males have antlers? But only the males lose them. And when the males grow theirs back, they have some velvety stuff on them. So they scrape it off on trees. And it looks almost bloody, but they're perfectly fine. Besides, like, antlers are really cool. And So, like, if you see a deer and it looks like it has very bloody antlers, you shouldn't be too concerned. Because unless it's limping or looks like it's about to collapse or it's dying, it's probably fine. Now, let's move on to the next animal. Now, that's the moose. Only the males have antlers, and they fall off. And they fall off every winter. They're one of the only horse-like and deer-like animals that's pretty common to have twins. Did you know that moose translates to twig eater? Because they eat a lot of twigs. Now let's move on to the next animal. Now we're at some bears. The way to identify a grizzly bear is by the hump on its back. Also, male grizzly bears often eat cubs so that it can remate with the female and he can be the proud father of a few new cubs. Now let's move on to the next animal. It's the end of the Canadian wilds. See you in my next episode.